Welcome to the best time of the year. Growing season is just about to get started. I have an empty greenhouse that needs attention, and in today's video we're going to take all of these plants out. We're going to repot them, extend them, chop them up, whatever they might need. And then we're also going through my house and we're taking plants that have overwintered indoors back outside to hopefully have a beautiful, clean and lush greenhouse by the end of this video. This is by far my favorite part of the year. This is the most exciting thing for me to do. I live for this moment and I'm so excited that it's finally here. Let's go! Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is now the third time going into spring and having a greenhouse. So by now I kind of know what I'm doing, more or less. I suppose it's still always an ongoing learning curve, but I have a bit of a strategy. So all of the plants that you see in here are plants that have overwintered in the greenhouse. So they're obviously not looking their very best. So it's time to get on top of them, you know, clean them up a little bit, give them a repot and set them up to thrive over the next 6 months, 8 months or so. And of course it is looking quite empty. Majority of the plants in the greenhouse actually moved inside into various rooms indoors, most of them upstairs in my rescue section. They've overwintered over there, but they're not loving it, especially upstairs in my rescue section. The hot air rises, so it's really dry and hot up there, but not like tropical hot, you know, like winter artificial heating hot. And I've had lots of pest issues up there as well. So it is time to bring them back down, because I think if I really want those plants to thrive and recover from winter, they will have the best chances in my greenhouse. Last night it was 12 degrees, but looking at the forecast, it seems to be going up from here. Certainly no more single digits, so I'm feeling confident bringing some of my indoor plants back outside so they can get used to the conditions that they're going to grow in over the next 8 months before it gets too hot and the sun gets too strong and so on. Basically a bit of resilience building, but also the indoors is a bit messy. I don't like it that messy. I actually want to declutter my house a little bit and have more quality instead of quantity of plants indoors. So kind of two birds, one stone. I get a bit of my house back and my plants are probably going to have a better time out here anyway. Now back to the greenhouse. Actually, I haven't done much with the greenhouse over the last 3 months or 4, almost 5 months to be honest. Kind of from May onwards, the temperatures aren't really warm enough for me to have misting. So I haven't been misting in the greenhouse. Actually, last week it was kind of warm. I did a little bit of misting in there, but I don't have a schedule set up for the misting just yet. The whole idea of the misting is to cool it down. But in winter it's actually too cold in there. I do not heat my greenhouse. The whole idea is for me to set up a garden and greenhouse that works with the natural conditions that Sydney has to offer, rather than trying to heat the outside world, right? So it is kind of a bit of survival of the fittest, but you know, over the years I'm getting better and better, and I end up with more and more plants on the back of a winter, right? So I am kind of narrowing down which plants can actually thrive in my garden year round. But when I put more plants in here, I obviously have to start being a little bit more diligent and monitor the humidity levels and the temperatures, because the sun can be really, really strong, especially when it hits it in the afternoon through the glass. So I need to monitor those two and then start setting up a misting schedule. But that misting schedule is gradually going to increase as we're approaching summer. Now with high humidity, there is the need for a fan and airflow, which I've got in the corner over here. And that fan stayed on throughout winter as well. Which leads me to today's sponsor, Gathera. Gathera is the global leading brand in portable power stations and solar generators, with over 13 years of experience in the game and over 5 million units sold. I have been using the Gathera Expo 2000 Plus over the last 3 months, and it's been an essential part of my greenhouse. Whether there's misting or not, the greenhouse is always a high humidity environment. and especially in combination with cold temperatures that can cause fungal issues. Leading up to summer, I'll have the need for consistent airflow in my greenhouse because with the misting, I'll have water droplets sitting on leaves, and if they're sitting on there for too long, they can either cause fungal issues or can even cause burning in combination with the really harsh sun. So airflow is a really essential part to plant care. It prevents fungal issues and makes your plants grow happy, healthy and strong. But it is hard to achieve in an enclosed environment like my greenhouse, especially considering that I have no power source outside. And that's where the Gathera Explorer 2000 Plus comes in handy. It has a massive 3000 watt output. It has a base capacity of over 2000 kilowatt hours and can be expanded up to 12 kilowatt hours. So once charged, I can reliably power my fan in the corner over here. And that's essential because I can then match up the fan with the misting schedule to make sure that there's always airflow when water is involved. Now obviously this all sounds good in theory, but how do I charge the power station in the first place if I don't have power out here? Two options. Most of the time I take an extension cord from inside and I plug it into my power station, and within an hour or so it is fully charged, and I only have to do this approximately every 5 days depending on how frequently I schedule the fan. And the second option is solar charging. The Solar Saga has a 100 watt output, and on a sunny day I can just quickly take it out, flip out the stand and plug it into my portable power station. Now of course the solar solution requires sun. Unfortunately I don't get all too much direct sun in my garden this time of the year, but as we're approaching summer there'll be more and more afternoon sun hitting the greenhouse, and then the solar panel is going to be a great way of continuously topping up my portable power station. Originally it's really designed to take you off grid. You can use it on a road trip, when you go camping, even if you just have a picnic at the beach. And of course I can use my portable power station for many other useful things out here, like powering my gurney, keeping batteries for my garden tools charged, charging a speaker for entertainment, or probably my favorite use of them all, continuously charging my old iPhone that I often set up to shoot time lapses that can last over many weeks when new leaves are unfurling. Alrighty, we need to get going, so I'll make use of the convenient handle and wheels to wheel this out of sight. But if you want to find out more about Gathera and the Explorer 2000 Plus, please check out the link in the description down below, and they're running some great discounts on their website at the moment. Thank you again Gathera for sponsoring this video and for sponsoring airflow in my greenhouse. But now it's time to look at the plants that will benefit from all that beautiful airflow, and by the end of the video my Gathera will be fully charged. Alrighty guys, got a nice tub of air mix over here that I just need to stir around a bit. Maybe I'll get a better tool. I've got pots, I've got moss in case we need to do some extensions. I've got a bunch of grow verticals that I pre-made last night, and I've got a coffee, most importantly. Oh, let's sit down. I think baby is out of frame, but he's sitting there, so we need to keep an eye on him because I still have an open fence. We do need to take all of the plants out. Whether we repot them or not, that we'll find out. Obviously only going to repot something if it needs it. Okay, today's air mix is a lot of cocoa peat and tree fern fiber in there. Obviously a lot of perlite. I love perlite. Now I do want the mix in here to retain moisture quite well. Do you want a cushion? You want a cushion for your chair? Now I wanted to retain plenty of moisture because the greenhouse is going to be a really hot environment, but at the same time with frequent misting and me just going around hosing everything to water, I also wanted to drain really well. That's where the perlite comes in. Of course there's still my normal chunky components like bark and cocoa chips, just to put a few air pockets in that mix as well, because the air roots are really going to love these air pockets. Hey darling. Syngonium albo, we call it fantasy over here. Podophyllum albo, it's a letter. Albo variegata. No, it's done quite well outside actually, despite the cold temperatures. And I'm just really excited to see this thrive now. There's plenty of cuttings in there, and the idea is that it's a really lush horizontal display. But nothing to do over here. What I'll do, I'll just park it outside, and what we're going to do is we're going to hose all of them down as well, because they were in the greenhouse, and yes, the greenhouse is not fully insulated, so it gets rained on a little bit, but these leaves wouldn't have really gotten cleaned, I suppose. I mean, they don't get dirty in the greenhouse either, but I think clean leaves are healthy leaves, and actually I could do that in the greenhouse. Anyway, I parked them all on the side so that we've got an empty greenhouse for cleaning. Hey baby, Monstera siltepecana also survived winter out there, like nothing happened. Nothing really here to do. I could take these sort of vines and put them back in the pot, but I think the pot is lush enough. I want this to eventually start trailing down. I think it could be such a cool trailing display. And this silver band Maranta I actually only recently put in here, like last week. So I have had really good success with Marantas in my greenhouse. I definitely want to add a few more into the greenhouse this summer. Alocasia cuprea, I think we would be in a position to give this a repot. I don't think I've repotted this in 3 or 4 years, and she's doing well, right? But I think there's just only so much potential for her to continuously thrive. I think she deserves a repot. This one has been repotted recently, Monstera Peru. It's just not loving life over winter. But I'm surprised it actually survived. That's a positive. And now I'm just waiting for it to regrow by itself. Yeah, go in the greenhouse. You can play in the greenhouse. I will use a dirty old pot. Now when I repot plants outdoors or in my greenhouse, I always try and keep as much of the existing mix as possible. What I also want to do over here is I want to get these nodes closer into the pot. So I'm going to pot it up quite deep so that hopefully they will keep growing more roots. Now, I often also reuse substrate that I got from plants inside when I did a repot out here, but not really for the plants in my greenhouse. That's really for big plants, like I think you can see the corner of my Tomatophyllum over here. They will need like a 50 centimeter pot. It will take so much volume. It would take like a whole bucket of this, and I'd rather take this bucket of aeroid mix and pot up 20 nice plants with it. The Tomatophyllum doesn't need it, so all of my recycled aeroid mix from indoors and so on goes into plants like that, or big palm, like huge containers, right? Now I often get asked, hey, couldn't it be possible that there's root rot in that mix? Do you still use it? Yes. It's also just organic. Yes, I suppose in theory it could spread, but I've even had root rot in the same pot as having thriving roots. I left it, nothing happened. It's a risk I'm willing to take, I suppose. But like, if it's a really, really bad mix and I feel like it's infested with something and so on, then I might just discard it. But I would say 99% of times I would just reuse my mix and give it to a larger plant that doesn't seem to care too much. Recently I got my Discoria discolor out of dormancy and I took out all the potatoes and hang on. Nah, false alarm. And this was kind of the leftover mix. Now, I usually miss a few of those little potatoes when I separate them out. And then, like last year, I had one coming out of my Tomatophyllum, for example, because exactly what I was just explaining, that leftover mix I just didn't use for a plant like that. Turns out, I forgot a little corm or forgot a little potato in there, or rhizome or whatever it might be. Honestly, I think my brain will never remember that. So this year I just thought, you know what, why don't I just take all of that leftover substrate, put it back in the pot, put it in my greenhouse and see if anything sprouts from here. So yeah, could be that this is going to just be a pot of dirt for forever, but we'll find out, right? Thrilling. Thrilling. This is my maidenhair fern, and I cut it back completely because I dehydrated it severely last year. That was my doing. It actually usually likes winter, it likes the cold temperatures, but it hasn't come back to life. So yeah, I think I'll just park that right next to the Discoria discolor and see if it wants to come back. I don't know why the camera's set up so low. I'm like hovering over here. And this one was a stingray that I only bought at the beginning of spring. Didn't even get the chance to repot it from its bunning spot. But it disappeared. So let's have a look into this mix and see if there's any corms I could rescue. Oh, hello. Hey, I gave you your own chair over there. I'll just squeeze in. You happy with that? So nice to be back outside, isn't it? Huh? Yes, I know. I can't believe we still don't have a fence. Oh. Yeah, the rhizome is completely gone. I found it, but it was completely rotten. And no corms, or at least no surviving corms. Maybe the corms also rotted away. Well, that is unfortunate. To be honest, when I went to Bunnings and I saw it, I only bought it because when I was in Brisbane, they had a beautiful specimen in their greenhouse over there. And then my delusional brain was like, yeah, I'm just going to put one in my greenhouse and it's also going to have an amazing time. Completely forgetting that it was like June, middle of winter. I don't really know why I put it in the greenhouse. Like my brain was not involved in that decision-making process, I think. So yeah, look, that was definitely my doing. Is what it is, huh? Yeah, YOLO. Hey, what are you doing? Are you a little monkey? Yeah, no, this cushion is too big for the chair. I took the wrong one. Alright, next one. Look at my Spider-Man jewel orchid. So cute. Flower spikes coming in. This has never been repotted in its life, in 3 years or so. It's always been in the greenhouse its whole life, and I think it could do with a smaller pot, to be honest, because like 80% of the pot is just empty, I feel like, but I don't want to disturb it while it's so happy, so I'll just do nothing with it. And over here is a begonia that needs a little bit of water. In my last video I significantly chopped it back. I'm just really after these new reshoots. The problem with this begonia is when it gets large, it has really long petioles going everywhere and it just kind of takes up too much space. So I figured, why not chop it back? Just wait for all of these reshoots. How cute are these hairy little leaves over here? I want it to be a small display, just a pop of color, not aiming for size over here. So despite the fact that this has also never been repotted in 3 years, I do have some worm casting granulates on top, so there was nutrient provision. I don't really feel like I need to repot this. You're way too cute to be in the corner of death, my darling. Come on. No. Good boy. You can be here, be under the table, be in the greenhouse, do something. Now, I've been contemplating giving this a bit of a chop, but it is actually growing so nicely over here again. New shoot over here in my hand. Obviously growing from the top over here. New shoot coming out of the pot over here. And this is like an old vine over here, but I'm feeling like it's okay. If I chop this old vine off, I'm basically getting rid of this new growth point over here, which I would rather like to keep because it's also nice and convenient from within the pot. I chopped off all of the ugly leaves already. There's new pitches coming in here now. This time of the year, this plant throws out pitcher after pitcher. So I don't want to do anything about it now, or like repot it or anything like that. I think the best I can do is just kind of keep this one a little bit tighter to the display. So I just cable tie that to here. It's really just more about creating a compact display because this plant is going to grow so well. This plant is going to grow so much so quickly. I just don't want it to go everywhere. But this one also fell in my recent video. But I think the problem over here, sometime last year, I thought it would be a good idea to use this mesh pot. It dries out way too quickly. So I'm going to just give this a different pot. Don't worry, last year I cut it back completely because it had aphids. This year no aphids, this year just severe dehydration. But I feel like it could come back from this. It's Syngonium erythrophyllum. Bye. Okay, the roots don't look all too healthy, to be honest. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, the roots are not that healthy. I suppose if you let something dry out too much and then rehydrate it, that's often the case. Cold temperatures in the greenhouse would certainly not help. But I think I'm just going to pot this up as it is like this and just hope for the best. Yeah, sounds good. Again, quite clearly not a plant I am all too attached to. Otherwise, I would have done something about this a little bit earlier. It's not the first time I noticed that it's dehydrating too quickly. Guys, don't hate me. They were all severely dehydrated, damaged, weren't looking good, they'll never recover. You can see all of the stems over here now. I just rather have this reshot from the pot, so I've got nice lush growth that is compact rather than like new leaves coming out down here. If it even wants to come back, I suppose we'll find out. Alrighty, here I've got a pagoda lipstick plant. Actually, this was outdoors over summer. I'm not too sure why I put it back in the greenhouse, to be honest. I don't think it needs it. I actually think this would be a great pop of color on my fence, because my fences are going to be quite empty. Pop it here, you can't see it, but I'll show you later. That's actually quite nice there, I like it. Obviously nothing to do. Not that I've ever repotted that plant in 3 years. Yes, you go take over the chair, my darling. Alright, here we've got a Ripsalis Pacheco with lots of other names. Leon vs Catanula la. I don't really like these ferns hitchhiking up here. I'll pull them out. New growth. That's positive. Absolutely nothing to do. I like the Ripsalis hanging because it gives me kind of like this tropical vibe without them taking too much light away. So I'll also, nothing to do here. This is another carnivorous plant. This carnivorous plant has never grown a single pitcher for me. There was one on there. I think I recently had to chop it off. That one pitcher that it had, that's the one that it came with. But it is growing plenty of leaves here. And it's activating a new shoot here. And somewhere else maybe, I don't know. Look, I don't mind it. It's looking kind of, I don't mind it, but I haven't really figured out what makes it grow pitches. I don't have issues with the other one. The other one grows pitches well for me, but I suppose not all Nepenthes enjoy the same conditions. I think some, like it colder, some like it warmer, some flower in winter, some flower in spring. But I've had this for at least a year and a half now. So we've gone through all of the seasons and it didn't like any of the seasons. So but at least it's tolerant to my conditions in the greenhouse year round, so it will always add greenery. That's a positive. All right, we're getting there, huh? This is another Ripsalis, I believe. Was that the one? Yes, that recently had lots of flowers that looked so beautiful, but we finished flowering. That also has this fern hitchhiking at the top, which initially I thought was quite cute, but now I'm just getting a bit sick of it. It's looking a bit too messy for my liking. Oh, there's some flowers left. A little bit dried out, but it looked like this. Almost like the little snowbells, snowflakes, you know what I mean, these spring bulbs. So I don't mind the fern overall, and the fern is gonna resprout so quickly. I just need to trim this off a bit. This is getting out of control and I don't think it looks very nice anymore. I think this looks a bit better now. I definitely chopped a few of the Ripsalis off as well. There you go. Nice and tropical. And here's a little Adansonii. I just wanted to turn this into a lush pile. So before winter I chopped between all of the nodes, and there are new shoots and new leaves. But yeah, it definitely needs the growing season to look a little more impressive. But thanks for surviving. That's already a good start. Can't say the same about the Cheronii, but good thing is I have a large Cheronii in my living room, and that actually lived outdoors last year, and I took it in for winter, so I suppose it was a good idea to take the whole plant in for winter and only leave the bottom part out here. But yeah, there's a whole video on that Cheronii coming soonish, I hope. Nobody can see you. That's better, huh? Alrighty, well, we're thanking plants for nothing. Thank you, Philid and Ventenu, for doing nothing over the last 3 years. This is actually a separate shoot, this leaf over here. I need to chop this off. The top didn't look all too good. I'm hoping that this reshoots from the base, but it's never done anything for me. Like ever since I've had it. It's never really looked good. So I think this year I'm gonna try and give it maybe a little bit more light to see if that changes anything. Because if nothing changes, huh? So smart, my baby. Monstera Indonesian marble. I've done a whole plant spotlight on this plant recently. Now only one thing that I want to do over here is, see, this is coming off the pole. I want to get this back onto the pole. Yeah, and in that plant spotlight that I did, I basically explained to you that, you know, this plant has done nothing for me, or very little for me in the last 2 years of growing it. So I'm now going with an ignoring approach. I mean, in that plant spotlight, I was talking about how annoyed I am at this plant, so I'm not going to put any effort into this plant whatsoever. Monstera subpinata, also its second winter out there. Obviously didn't do amazing, but it did amazing over spring. So I'm excited about it not having died and hopefully it can grow really, really well over the upcoming growing season. And I think it's looking good, not too much damage. Actually, the thing that annoys me the most is the inconsistent leaf display, but that's because of the way that the light hits the greenhouse. And there's only so much I can do about this, but I like it. I think in summer I'll get more light coming from the front again, and then these leaves should face forward a little bit more. Could also be a good candidate for my wall of aeroids, but I'm still waiting for the fence to be completed before I start putting more plants on there. And over here is my Monstera deliciosa variegata, also overwintered. Plenty of room on the pole. Pot is looking healthy and not root bound at all. So again, nothing to do over here. Park that on the side. Some cacti. I'll pop them back outside. I just put them in the greenhouse because I can control water better in there. But over summer they obviously prefer the higher light out here. Could probably repot this just for stability purposes one day, but we'll find out. And this is the agave I got from my visit at Cactus Country. Oh, little baby. Oh, one more. How did I not see that? Corsinianum, not looking its best, but I think I might be able, should I give it a new pot? This pot is literally held together with cling wrap, but it looks healthy. I think probably just do nothing. I'll just let it regrow again or grow, and then once I see like 1 or 2 leaves in a row, then maybe I'll consider chopping off the bottom part so it doesn't look so ugly. But I don't want to introduce more shock right now. Plenty of room. Everything feels firm. So yeah, I think sometimes less is more. Alrighty, now the greenhouse is truly empty. We do need to clean it up, but let's stick with the plants for now. Let's go and get some plants from upstairs and see what they need. Alrighty, first plant actually didn't come from the attic upstairs, that came from the living room. A medium silver. This has actually always lived in the greenhouse up until last winter. And I somewhat regret this decision because I put it too close to the grow light. You can really see this white, yellow discolorations where it got burnt on this side of the plant, not so much on this side. But at least it survived. It didn't even drop a leaf, but the year before it actually survived in the greenhouse and also didn't really drop a leaf. So I feel like I overdid it over here. I could have just done nothing and I think I would have had better results. Whatever. On a positive note, this leaf is now pushing out here. This shoot over here is pushing out a new leaf, and there's another shoot over here and a fourth one stuck down there. There, this white thing. So plenty of new leaves coming. Actually, there is technically a 5th shoot down there somewhere as well. So plenty of new growth happening, which means we need to extend this pole. The pot is looking healthy, very healthy roots in here actually, but not root bound to the extent that I feel like I would need to repot it. I think I'll just pop an extension on this and we're good to go. Do I need this table? Do I need this chair? To be honest, I was expecting to do way more repotting actually. Now, usually with my plants in here, I like to give them aeroid mix because I'm having an easier time re-moistening it. Dry moss gets hydrophobic, so when you hose it down, the water just kind of pearls off. And I suppose hosing things down is the convenient way of watering everything here, and that's how I want to do it. I don't want to slowly re-moisten something with water bottle upside downs and so on. No. But I could see how this plant one day ends up inside because I love it. So I'd rather give it moss, because inside using air mix in the pole is an absolute nightmare because it gets so messy. So moss absorbs the water neater and thus creates less mess. So I prefer that indoors. Works better with the water bottle upside down technique and so on. Given that there's 4 plants in here, I definitely want to make this quite dense. Poke a lot of moss in here because 4 plants have 4 root systems and so on. So I need to give them enough media. I think that's the problem for some of these initial pots over here. They're almost like concave. They're caving in instead of bulging out. So there's not enough media in there. And obviously it's also leaning a little bit, so it's not the most stable, but that doesn't really matter because I'm going to hang it in the greenhouse, so it doesn't need to stand. Alright, I overlapped the poles by 2 cable ties as always. Sweet. Plastic, plastic, mesh, mesh. Plastic, plastic, mesh, mesh. And I don't need to give it additional stability via garden stake, because again I'm just going to hang it, so it could only fall from the hook. It can't really cave in, and obviously I hope it's not going to fall off the hook, but I'm just saying that falling off the hook is not prevented by a garden stake. And if you're wondering why I put this pencil over here, I didn't have a chopstick handy, but basically with this I just started pushing this back onto the pole. It was coming off, and see, it was kind of coming off here a little bit. I put the pencil there, or brush there, and now it's more in the center again. I'll keep it in there just for a little bit longer. I'll park that on the side as well. Oh, it's looking so good though, no? Alrighty. This one is a bit of a problem. Look at this. Pinati patita. Also done a video on this. This is severe thrips damage. See all of the red bits? See all of this red bit? Also severely dehydrated multiple times throughout winter, and aphids. So this plant has had a terrible time. And not just this year, last year as well. So I'm gonna cut off any ugliness, any little stem that hasn't rooted, I'm gonna pull off. I'm sorry, these leaves are so ugly. Yeah, could not stand to look at those. But I mean, I'm just cutting off the leaves. There's still active growth points. But this, look at this ginormous stem that was over summer last year. And then I tried to recover it all the summer last year, did not. But this teeny tiny stem coming out of this thick stem. Now that's obviously reshot, so let's keep it that way. But I would love this plant to reshoot a few more times. So I'll just chop a few more times. Honestly, at this stage I feel like I have absolutely nothing to lose with this plant. It's obviously hiding me. Park it back in the greenhouse and hope for a better season this year. Philodendron rugosum has actually done quite okay over winter. Definitely few yellow leaves, but has also grown new leaves. Never really been my favorite, to be honest. More like a filler, but it's okay. It's actually been very low effort, so I don't mind that at all. But does it look good is the question. Probably not. Should I maybe try and grow this a little lusher? Maybe. Where did I put my scissors? Do I have the desire to chop this? Yes. Especially down here, I'm gonna get rid of this ugly leaf. Okay, did 3 chops, so I've got 3 pieces here, hoping they will reshoot. But then I've got this big mother plant. I don't think there's a point in extending this one more time anyway. I don't think it's really going anywhere, if you know what I mean. It's kind of consistently giving me the same leaves, and the leaves aren't that great. It's supposed to have nice texture and thrips damage. This is thrips, I believe. Yep, pretty sure this is all thrips. By the way, I did get on top of the thrips, so I don't think my plants actively have thrips at the moment. I used contender spray to treat it, and I haven't seen any recently, so I'm not going to treat them again. But I also just hope that the thrips hide the outside. Yeah, so that texture is nice, so I think it would be nicer to just have more more leaves rather than aim for large leaves, because I don't think they're going to get very large ever. Orange marmalade, I repotted this recently, put it in my rescue section, don't worry, that's moss, and it's already sending out a new leaf. So I'm happy. I'm trying to put effort into this plant this year to grow it nice and large. Bottom part of my melanochrysum also has severely suffered through the thrips, as you can see over there. But again, I can't actually see thrips on there right now. So I think we overcame that. It's just the existing damage. So I'm not hesitant in chopping leaves off over here quite liberally, because they're ugly. And I'm aiming for the plant to just reshoot. So maybe I'll chop it in a few bits. Actually, this is nice. I'll just let it do its own thing over here. I think the plant just needs to be left alone for a while. And the indoor ones, the big mother plant is absolutely thriving. So it's just a double up. And double up is really the general theme of my greenhouse as well. I have a lot of double ups. When I do chop and extends and I've got the bottom part of a pole, I like to put it in the greenhouse and see if it maybe thrives in the greenhouse more than inside, right? Plus, that's a really inexpensive way of filling your greenhouse. Philodendron titanium, which is a verrucosum and serpens hybrid. Got one shoot here, and then this shoot is producing a new leaf. Happy days. Now it is technically reaching the top of the moss pile, but I have no desire to extend it. I'd rather have this, actually don't I? Yeah, I think it makes no sense. I think once this has grown 2 or 3 nodes or so, I'll do something about it. But I don't want to extend it for now, because I mean it just looks ridiculous as it is. And I'm going to chop this ugly leaf off. This is the bottom part of my El Choco. Now this has suffered severely through thrips as well. I'm going to cut off all of these ugly leaves, because in the greenhouse they're just going to stick in all directions. They look so bad. I mean, look at this. Maybe it doesn't come across on camera as badly. Hang on, I'll show you them close up. They all have to go. What about you? Are you healthy? No. Alright. Harsh, but it's gonna work. Trust the process, my friends. Okay, so we've actually got a few shoots over here. Right? I've got one here, I've got one here, I've got one here that's pushing out a new leaf, so that's all good. And I've got one down here. I will just have to let this plant do its own thing, and she was loving the greenhouse last year, so I'm just doing nothing over here. Might as well give it a new pot while we're here, because we have hardly repotted anything. I made all this airwood mix for nothing. Might as well. Yep, definitely a few rotten roots over here. But majority of the roots will be in the pole, right? Could have even just not given this a pot at all. Here, I wanted to show you these leaves. See, they have all of these. That is thrips damage. Look at this over here, thrips damage. Look at this one, so dull, right? Yeah, look at this thrips damage at the top here. Syngonium frosted heart. Few ugly leaves. And I also gave it this extension too late. The plant was already up to here by the time I put the extension on down here, which means that none of these roots had a moss pile to attach to. That's why they're not attached. So I'm going to help it out with a cable tie. Yeah. Now I hate doing that. I hate being late to the extension because I'm not optimizing the root system. But it's a nice compact plant, so it's great for the greenhouse because it doesn't spread so much. Right, needless to say, this Homolomina has not had the best time over winter, so I'm thinking she's going to have a great time either in the greenhouse or even in the garden directly. We'll find out. See how much space I've got. This one is a Cissus discolor, and I would love for this to hang in my greenhouse a little bit. You can see it's just activating a bunch of shoots over there, so I'm going to see if I can hang this somehow. And a little alocasia over here. Variegated Macaritia, I think. Actually, is that a smart idea to put it out here? Yeah. Am I giving it a bigger pot though? Also, yeah. There we go. Pop this in airwork mix. Not too many left. for now. I'm sure I'll go through multiple iterations. Philodendron bilinum has been in the IKEA cabinet his whole life. Not really doing much though. I'm not too sure. It's a Bellicosum pasterzanum hybrid. And it seems to be somewhat climbing actually, but I don't really want to give it a moss pile. What I want to do is I just want to chop a few of these older leaves and then pot it deeper into the pot so it can expand its root system. And hopefully then it gives me some more significant leaves. Has decent roots. Sorry, I'm too lazy to bring you closer now. What I need to do is I need to clip off these lower leaves so I can put it deeper into the pot. You know what I mean? The newest node is up here now. So all of these nodes you saw before are in the substrate, and hopefully that's going to establish a nice root system, and then hopefully this plant can grow into something nice over the season. I'm going to try it in the greenhouse. And then next over here we've got an Alocasia Jacqueline that came back from a thick rhizome. I tried this actually for years and finally this year did something in just moss. So I want to just take this and pot this up. Now just moss was quite a success, so you would think I'm gonna stick with that, but obviously not, because that's boring. But look at the rhizome. I come closer. Sorry guys, I know I'm a bit lazy today. Look at this rhizome that it shot from. And there's a second shoot over here with roots. There's some roots dangling here, some here. Might even look like it's activating a few more shoots. So I'm thinking I'm gonna pop this up just in aeroid mix. And hopefully it's gonna have a really good time this summer. Let's see what else I've got. Single node cutting, repotted of domesticum, working on a separate video of that, and I've got the main plant in my IKEA cabinet, but I thought, you know, if I can try it in 2 different environments, see if it likes the environment, and if it does like the greenhouse, then I might put the whole mother plant in the greenhouse as well. And over here I've got some cuttings of variegated Milano. Let me pot that up. My mother plant is not doing too well. Why not take these propagations and try them in a different environment so that I have a backup in case the mother plant does not want to survive. Wow, this moss is compacted. Why did I make it so tight? Or is that all the roots? I can't see many roots. What a mess. I'll just pot this up and ignore it. And hopefully one day I'll come back into the greenhouse and it's like so beautiful with the most amazing variegated leaves. And yes, I acknowledge it looks like crap right now. Velvet Alocasia, not looking its best, but it's growing, even flowering. So I think nothing to do over here, maybe just a bit of cosmetic cleanup. This is a new addition I got from Grow Vertical. It is a Dean crossed with, I'm not too sure, it just says Dean cross. But I thought, let's put it in the greenhouse. And another plant I got from Grow Vertical, it's the bicolor. Has really red backs, green fronts, and the petiole is half-half. Gonna be an epic climber, but when Tim gave it to me last week, he said he literally just potted it up in there. I can see the first new root here, but I'm gonna let this re-establish before I repot it and put it on the pole. But I think this is going to be stunning on the pole, but maybe give it another month. And those are all of the plants. I don't know if you guys can tell, but towards the end of all of this, I'm getting really agitated because of all of the mess. So I would love to clean up the mess and then be coming back to watering, cleaning and arranging. Let's do that. You need to move out of the way though. Let's water these first so they can drain a little bit. Whew. Okay, take care. Bye. Oh my god, guys, they're coming back on Friday for the fence. That's good news, no? Good enough. Let's clean up the greenhouse. I'm not gonna go all too crazy, just a few spider webs for now. Eventually I want to gurney the whole greenhouse, but I think specifically I want to gurney it from the outside. I don't have that much time today though, because Tim is gonna pick me up in about 30 minutes and we are heading to the growers. Oh, there's my Hoya, by the way. I can't remove her because she's twirling around here. So we're going to the growers to pick up plants for my first workshop that's happening this Sunday. So we're going to pick up the plants because we're going to repot some plants in that workshop, and there's actually only one ticket left for the workshop. So we've already organized a second workshop for October, and that workshop will be a moss pole specific workshop. So it's going to be the ultimate moss pole workshop basically, and I'll leave a link in the description down below. So if you're in Sydney and you want to partake in the ultimate moss pole workshop, there's an opportunity. But let's not get too far ahead of myself. For now I need to work on the first workshop first, which is the more general houseplant 101. That's going to be on Sunday, and we're going to go to the growers to pick up some plants that we can repot, and I've got the goodie bags ready and everything. And yeah, I'm getting excited but also nervous, so the more I can prepare, the better I'll feel about everything. Alright, let me just quickly clean the floor as well. Righty, let me give you a closer look. I have you on wide angle because it is a small space, but it is looking significantly fuller now, despite the fact that pretty much every plant hardly exists, right? So let's just call it potential. Room for improvement. But it is looking good. I think the medium in the middle is definitely kind of the showstopper. Like that, it's looking good, huh? And then the shelf over here is looking a little bit empty for now as well, but you know, it's the beginning of spring. It's not bad, huh? Definitely room for more, which is great, right? Because I mean, we're at the beginning of the growing season, and over the next 6 months my plants will hopefully all grow, which means that there's going to be lots of chop and extends. With chop and extends come bottom parts of the poles. I like to move them into my greenhouse. I am planning on doing a bunch of alocasia content as well, and I think this environment might be good for some of these alocasias. So don't worry, we'll definitely fill it over the next couple of weeks or months, but I think it's a nice baseline to get started. Everything is looking happy, healthy, clean, fully watered. Just one thing missing, airflow. Because it's getting a little bit hot inside the greenhouse, this is going to live behind the greenhouse in a really shady and cold corner, and I'm going to put it in a box that stops it from getting wet as well, obviously with airflow and all of that. So let me wheel it over there. The fan is scheduled to turn on every day at 9 and turn off every day at 5. That is approximately sunrise and sunset. Well, sunrise is a little bit earlier, but by the time this space gets sun. So at night time I don't have the desire to have the fan on. That just means that the battery lasts a little bit longer, and so far so good. But as I mentioned, at this stage it is very unpredictable. For example, right now it is 42% humidity, which is obviously not high enough for my liking. So that would be great for misting, but then last week it also rained quite a lot and it was 90% humidity and so on. The temperatures are at 20 degrees at the moment, so nothing to be concerned about, but if it's a hot day and the sun hits the greenhouse through the windows, it could easily go above 30 already. So at the moment, this time of the year, I need to be really careful and agile, but that is fun to me, right? That is part of the plant hobby. I enjoy looking at the weather, assessing the conditions, and then supplementing the conditions accordingly to make sure that my plants are happy and healthy and grow up in a nice, warm, humid environment. I suppose that's the skill of being a grower rather than just being a plant collector. Alrighty, on that note, it is time to turn on the misters, get this environment nice and humid, which probably means that I should be vacating this space. Again, Jackery, thank you so much for sponsoring the portable power station in this video. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe and leave a nice comment, and hopefully I'll see you soon for more spring content. Take care.